I need to lay down some drum tracks today for 2 songs. But first, let's start this session the right way. Cannot do it without this. So this is my drum setup here in my not too big of a room. It is I consider that a small room. As far as the kit goes, it is a very simple kit. It's an old maple shell pearl drums out of the 80s. It sounds okay. And we have one rack tom here, a floor tom, a snare. Now the snare is a very cool one. It's an old Ludwig snare drum. I really like the snare. Now I have a kick, 2 cymbals, a ride cymbal, and some hi-hats. So very simple setup. And as far as miking goes, again, not too complicated. I have one microphone inside of the kick drum. Okay, it's a D112. So I make sure it aims the beater inside, and by maybe I would say around 4 to 6 inches away from the front head. So it gives me a lot of attack. And as far as the roundness of the kick drum, you know, I could just add another microphone, but I love using samples to enhance the kick drum. Now for the snare, I'm using a Audix i5 microphone, which is similar to an SM57. It has a bit of a different sound, a bit more fat, I would say, than a 57, but it's still close. So I kind of like this mic. I use it a lot, and sometimes I just use a 57, which is my other microphone that I like to use. The way I positioned the microphone on this snare is by aiming the center of the head. This is often my starting point when I'm miking a snare drum. I try to be at around 3 inches, I would say, from the skin, aiming the center of the head. Now, sometimes I'm gonna pull back the microphone a bit further away from the center, but still aiming the center. Sometimes I'm just gonna put it closer. It depends, but the thing you need to be careful about is to make sure that the drummer doesn't hit the microphone, okay? So don't put it too close to the center to avoid the microphone getting hit by the drummer. So this is something to pay attention to. And there's a few other ways you can mic a snare drum. If you wanna have more ring, you can just pull back the microphone and aim the edge of the skin. This way you're gonna get a bit more ring. If you wanna have a more controlled sound, just aim the center of the head or in between, you know. This is the type of thing you need to experiment with to get the best sound possible. So this is the way I mic'd my snare for this session. And we have the Audix, the D2 for the rack tom. And for the floor, it's the D4, I believe. Now for the hi-hat. I have a condenser microphone. It's the AKG 451. And the good thing about this microphone is there's a pad on it, which I kind of need when I record hi-hats. All right, so another thing that I like to do here is to mic the bottom part of the snare. So I just use a Beta 57 to do so. And the thing you need to pay attention if you mic the bottom part of the snare, or even a floor tom or a tom, is to reverse the polarity, okay? So you don't get any phasing issues, okay? So that can actually thin up your sound, your snare sound, if you don't pay attention to this. So make sure that the polarity is reversed. If not in tracking, do it in your DAW afterwards. Now for the overheads, this is a very simple technique that I like to use most of the time. Now there's several different types of overheads miking techniques that you can get. You know, if you want to learn more about this, I'm going to leave you the link down below where my friend Lidge has a premium course on the drum recording, which is quite awesome. Okay, so if you want to know more about drum recording techniques, this is a very cool course to put your hands on. Now, getting back to my drum overheads here, the way I work that out is I have my my snare drum, which is my center, okay? And I make sure that the distance between my snare and each microphones is the same distance, okay? So I have my measurement tape here, and I just make sure that I'm at the same distance, basically. Okay, so I'm at around 56 inches, and that is about the same thing. So there you go. So we're good. We're not going to get into some phasing issues. So this way it's going to represent well the drum kit. The way that is mic'd is pretty high, and my goal here is to capture most of the drum kit and not only the cymbal. So this is what I want to achieve with this type of miking technique. And as far as the microphone goes, I am using the Mini K47 from Roswell Pro Audio. I kind of fell in love with these microphones. They're a bit darker than my Rhodes NT5 that I used to use, which I like. So it's a bit more fat and more dark, which is perfect for my taste. So I'm going to be using these again for this session. And then for the room mic, I have the Roswell Pro Audio Delphos. I decided this time to go with only one microphone for my room mic. Now the cool thing about this setup is the fact that I'm capable of recording myself directly from my recording room. Now this is very cool because I don't need to hire an intern to do that job for me. I can do it myself because of this cool setup. So this is my setup. I have my screen here, my computer screen, hooked up to my main computer, which is quite nice. So I just bring my my computer keyboard and a mouse, and I can control my session from here. I use my interfaces mixer to do my monitoring. So this one is the Lynx mixer. This is only to monitor myself, so I don't get any latency. So it's the direct sound that I'm mixing into my my headphones. And I have Cubase where I record my tracks, and I can edit from here directly, do the amount of takes that I need to, without having anyone in the studio. In the control room to record myself, I control everything from the comfort of my drum drone. Now I am gonna get to Alright, so now I'm gonna get to work. I'm gonna record a few takes and to show you guys how that looks in Cubase when I'm done. Okay, I did one take up to now, and I want to just take the time to show you my setup in Cubase, the way I do my recording when it's time to record drums. Now, a lot of what I'm doing right now can probably be done in other DAW. I know that Pro Tools has a system with the playlist, which Cubase has a similar thing, but in Cubase I'm going to be using the stack mode technique. Okay, so let me show you right away. This is my session in Cubase. Now I am using my camera to film this. Okay, so this is not my usual screen capturing software that I'm using, but just to show you that all of my tracks are here on the left side of the project window, and the trick here is to put everything in the same folder. So the goal here is to record 3-4 complete takes, and then just edit whatever is not good and keep whatever is good. If I put everything in the same folder, okay, right here I have everything in the drums folder, all of my drum tracks. I just need to activate the group editing option, okay, and then every time I'm going to select one of the tracks, it's going to select them all like if they were grouped together. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first track, and I'm going to click right here on the show lanes option. So I don't know if you can see it properly here, but just let me bring the camera closer, and there you go. So the show lanes option right here on top. Okay, I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open up the lanes out of my kick drum track. And then when I'm ready, I'm just going to click on record my second take, third take, and so on. And this way I'm going to see all of the takes, one on top of the other. Okay, so this is going to be very easy for me to edit my stuff afterwards. Drums are done. Now let's go into Cubase and check how that sounds like. So now in Cubase we have all of the takes that I've recorded. I think I've worked on 3-4 takes total, and I use like several things here, okay, that I want to show you. First, like I told you earlier, I did open the show lanes option here, So I just did it on the kick, okay, because everything is linked together anyways, just because of the group editing that is activated. So this way it's going to be way easier to edit. So you see all of my takes here, okay, only by looking at the kick track. Whatever is in blue, okay, that is not grayed out is the track that is playing. Okay, so if I do the same with the snare, if I open the, I show the lanes, this is what I'm going to see. I'm going to see basically the same kind of layout that I have on the kick. I can, that nothing stops me on opening the lanes on all the tracks, okay? But I don't want to do that just because it's a bit messy. Visually speaking, it's hard to kind of follow, when everything is open. It can be a bit confusing. So I just rather work on only one track where I show up the lanes, so this way it's way easier to edit. First, let's have a quick listen to what the drum sounds like. I'm going to keep the bass on, so we can have a music feel to it. So this is what we get. So first, I like to just balance the drums out without any effects, without any processing, so just quite dry. And I first start by listening to the overheads. I really, really like the sound of these overheads. Now, if I listen to the room mic, so it is a mono room mic. Sounds good. Not too aggressive. And so that's going to be good. Let's now add up to... I'm just going to add up the snare and the kick to the overheads. So I'm just going to mute everything else. Okay, we have a nice kick going on here. Listen to that kick. I love the attack. I'm a big fan of a good attack on the kick drum. It has a lot to do with the placement. When you get your microphone inside the kick drum, you get more of that attack kind of feel. And the inside of the kick drum is... there's a lot of stuff in there to damp the sound a bit, to damp the resonance of the kick itself. So I don't get a lot of overtones. It's pretty dry, which this is what I was looking for this song anyways. It's not always the case, but for this production, I was looking for something a bit more dead, which is what I got. A decent snare sound. Let's listen to the entire drums here. Okay, now we have a lot of rumbling going on into the tom and the floor tom. So this is something I'm going to fix later on during editing. And now what is left for me to do is to do some comping and editing. And this is what I'm going to show you in my next video. Now, I hope that was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, just leave them below. And don't forget to share, to subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Until next time, take care and see you.